discussed this at last year's Western Regional Conference, but I haven't heard you talk about it since. You gave a refreshing, eye-opening take on self-love versus self-respect.
Oh, yeah.
Can you reiterate what you said? Because I think we'd all benefit from it, especially being part of a generation and culture
Yes.
that's immersed in the self-love mantra.
Yeah, I wish they would stick around for this. It would be so helpful for them to hear. Yes, the fascination with loving yourself is Gnostic narcissism. You should have respect for yourself, not love for yourself. You should have love for your God and love.
Right off the bat, you should have self-respect, but not self-love. How do you have one of those things without the other? It's really, really hard to respect yourself, or respect anyone for that matter, if you don't have some degree of I guess, love for that person, and especially for yourself. How are you going to respect yourself if you also don't love yourself? And then, of course, he ruins it even more by being like, the only thing you should love is God. Tell you what, you know how respect is earned? Well, love is kind of earned also, and God didn't really do anything to earn my love or my respect, so therefore, he gets neither.
This idea, I read these self-help, phrases sometimes where they say, my imperfections make me perfect. Like, that's the silliest. I mean, so if you actually go through Pinterest and you read some of this stuff, instead it should be, I'm not all who I could possibly be.
Okay, again, like, your analysis of this is based on you scrolling Pinterest? Like, first of all, who even uses Pinterest anymore? Also, just to be clear, that phrase is, like, kind of corny, but all that really means is that, like, you should accept yourself for who you are. Nobody's perfect. But even your imperfections and your struggles and your quirks and everything else, that's what ultimately makes the perfect version of you. Again, it is kind of a cheesy, corny quote, fine, but it's also easy to explain the rationale behind that corny quote. And also then he goes on to be like, maybe you could be more than who you maybe it should say, I'm not all who I could possibly be. Okay, again, how do you become a better version of yourself? It starts with self-love. It starts with loving yourself and respecting yourself, both things, and recognizing that you are a person of value, and then making the effort and taking the necessary steps from there.
Maybe it should be a challenge to oneself, not a non-stop romantic love campaign with yourself. In fact, I think it creates more misery and more depression the more people think that they're in a romantic relationship with themselves.
Nobody thinks that... Wait, is he trying to be funny when he says this? Where does he think that this is a romantic relationship with yourself? Just to be clear, like, there's nothing wrong at all with loving yourself. Being self-involved, self-absorbed is bad, but that's, again, being self-absorbed. That's not just having a healthy degree of love and respect for yourself. If you're Charlie Kirk, you should absolutely not love yourself. I actually think if you're Charlie Kirk, you should probably hate yourself. And I think that the more he hates himself, the smaller his face gets and the bigger his head grows. And that's why every time you look at him, it seems like his face is getting smaller and smaller in the middle of his potato-like head.
You should have respect for yourself, but you should have respect enough to say that I could be more than I am today, and I'm going to delay my own immediate gratification. And you should have love instead for the divine or for the creator, more specifically, in my view, the creator that took human form, Jesus Christ, that allows you to live forever. And...
Okay, proof the majority of the audience is autistic. Like, again, in order to love another person even, like he's saying, like, you should love your wife and blah, blah. In order to adequately love another person, you need to love yourself. But yeah, this is just once again, good point, Holly. Yeah, this is just once again the, like, conflation of self-love and being egotistical.
Let me be clear, there's a lot of good people that are into the self-help, self-love thing. I hope it works for you. I have seen it do great damage to a lot of young people. I'm going to tell you why. When I was in 7th grade, I saw a sign.
Wait, really? We're going to get a story here? Not even anything that's factual? Like, why not, like, hey, there was a study that surveyed users of self-help Pinterest boards or something, and they found that the majority of them actually struggled with worsening depression after they began using those forms so frequently? Like, you could have taken it somewhere, but instead we're like, no, we get a story from you in 7th grade or something. Like, okay, grandpa.
When I was in 7th grade, I saw a sign that was posted all throughout our school, and it said, "You are perfect the way you are." And I asked my teacher, then I said, then why am I in school?
That's the great damage. Like, really, this is his big fucking disastrous outcome of the self-help thing? Also, just to be clear, his snarky comment doesn't really mean very much. Obviously, when it says, like, you're perfect, what did the sign say? You're perfect the way you are. It's obviously talking about an individual's intrinsic worth. It's obviously talking about, hey, you might not be that good at math right now, but you know what? You're perfectly you, exactly how you are right now. Your self-worth is not contingent on how much knowledge you have, how good in school you do. That's obviously the intention behind this "you are perfect the way you are." It's obviously talking about being a perfect version of yourself, being like perfect intrinsically, that your self-worth is not tied necessarily to your accomplishments, or at least it shouldn't be.
Why would you go to school if you were the perfect the way you are? Instead, it should be, you have great potential. It's a much, much better message.
Until you think about what that really tells people, it's like a backhanded compliment. With that carries the prerequisite that you are not utilizing your potential right now. That you have this capability, but you're just too fucking incompetent to figure out how to access it. All that means is you have the ability to be good, but right now you fucking suck. Loving yourself is the first step to acquire motivation so that you can then become a better version of yourself.